This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today on this extremely hot and very, very sunny afternoon. This little lizard here is sunbathing, just what I wish I was doing. But everyone, it's that time of day. Are you ready? Welcome aboard. It's time for your live safari from the African bush. Our trusty giant plated lizard here is becoming, well, habituated, I think. My efforts are paying off, sitting in his normal, well, her or his normal termite mound, basking in the sun, because of course he's a reptile, an ectotherm, and that's exactly what they have to do. So my name is Lauren. I do have Theo on camera today. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you all on SABC. We're coming to you live from 5 different locations and 6 different game drive vehicles. So hopefully we can show you lots of exciting things. And sadly, our giant plated lizard is now gone camera shy. We're getting there though. He's slowly and slowly becoming habituated. I am now going to bumble onto the hyena den. I really hope to catch this den active for a change, as it's not been for quite some time. So, this is live and interactive. We're all here for you, so please do talk to us. Send in your comments and questions using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or at FC in the YouTube chat stream and Twitch. We very much look forward to hearing from you, not just adults, kids as well. Send in all your questions that you want to know about the African bush. Email them to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. So, fingers crossed as I bumble onto the hyena den, there's someone present.
Good afternoon and welcome. The lazy lion yawn. We just relocated on the Nkuhumas, and it appears one of the males is with them. Turning out to be the start of a good afternoon. My name is David Hancock. On camera we have Craig, and we're going to be chilling here this afternoon and seeing just what these lions get up to. As you know, if you watch this morning's show, the buffalo aren't far off. So maybe, with the help of this big boy, there might be some action a bit later. Haven't moved far from where we had them this morning. Which we are thankful for, because this morning was about 2.5 hours of solid trekking. We looked them up, and then we took up the trek from Waterhole all the way across to Mbili. Eventually, with Mike's help and the guys on this side, we managed to find them right up here against the boundary. So it was a good few kilometers. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that question. It's quite a warm afternoon. And Lisa agreed, yay, for the lions. So much more satisfying and rewarding after working so hard for them this morning. I've officially upgraded Craig from cam op to cam op with level 2 tracker qualification. Between the two of us, we made a good team. Well, this is, as I say, the start of a great afternoon, and I'm excited to see what unfolds.
It is, and yeah, I'm so glad that you can join us on the adventure that we're going to be on this afternoon. I'm just starting out in what is nothing short of a magnificent camel thorn tree, certainly for this part of the Kalahari. The southern Kalahari that we're in, certainly where Tswalu's, there are very, very, very few camel thorn trees of this size. And I'm not necessarily talking about the height of this individual specimen, but certainly the girth down the bottom and the complexity of this individual trees. While I'm sitting here, there are a myriad of life forms around me apart from the tree itself. We've got sociable weavers at the back over here. There's a whole huge colony of black-tailed tree rats that are living inside here. There are scale insects on the leaves. There's very, very good evidence of spotted eagle owls being in the tree. There's spider webs up above me over here. There's bruchid beetles, these tiny little beetles that bore into the seed pods of this camel thorn tree. And that is just sitting in one spot, scratching the surface. I'm not even moving around or actually going into this in depth in any way. We could do a full drive for 3 hours just on this one incredible organism.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a warm welcome to andBeyond and Ngala. We have just found this beautiful young male leopard who we were with this morning, and he's just come down into the drainage line where he was looking, and he's investigating a whole bunch of different sounds. So he's up and he's moving around every now and again. Like I say, we are on andBeyond and Ngala. My name is Eric, and behind camera is Owen. We've gotten ourselves into this beautiful shaded, protected area, and we think that this is basically the area where he was left by his mother. So somewhere around here should be his sister, and potentially in the next few hours or maybe into the night tonight, their mother might return. And so he's up and he's investigating quite a few of these little sounds, and most of them are we think are being made by these small little spur fowls and franklins. And so he's just basically looking up and trying to figure out what these sounds are and whether or not he might be able to get a good meal. andBeyond, absolutely. What a beautiful spot for the leopard. I mean, it's with the shade in the sand, it's going to keep it really nice and cool. And then these drainage lines or these dry riverbeds create this funneling effect from the wind, and so he gets nice and cool. He's in the shade, so this is in exactly the spot that he wants. And on the upside, there's lots and lots of vegetation that he can hide around. And you can just see, I mean, this is a young male leopard who's still with his mum, and he's just investigating and exploring on what's going on around him. And so it's really nice. If we were watching a fully grown adult male, he would have found a shady spot and he would more than likely be sleeping, and we wouldn't really be seeing any of this activity. So he would have already recognized what the sounds are around him and realized they're not a threat or not a potential food source. Whereas he is just so inquisitive and curious that he wants to know what everything is. And so that's why we're getting these amazing views of him walking through these dry riverbeds. And so, I mean, it's a really, really good sign for us this afternoon. And if we can, hopefully what we'll be able to do is just stick around and follow him for the afternoon.
I'm back, just sitting here with the mighty Djuma Pride and this beautiful male. The females are off to my right. Got a good shot at this male as he's grooming himself, so just enjoying it while he's doing something other than sleep. At the moment, he looks like nothing more than an overgrown house cat. A lovely picture we have here. This male lion grooming himself, so meticulous between his digits there on his paw. Look at the beautiful view of the bottom of his foot. It's lovely to see what leaves the marks in the sand that we spend so many hours following. And as cats love to do, he's been spending these last few minutes furiously grooming himself. VXN, you've asked, will male lions act more aggressive to show off to the females? VXN, in my experience and opinion, male lions won't really do much showing off. I don't think they are wired that way. To them it is all about dominance and maintaining their territory and the future of their genetics. So it's more about maintaining their status in the pride as the coalition that dominates the pride. So any aggression that they show will always be shown against anything that might conflict with that. So, for instance, an intruding male would receive a lot of aggression because an intruding male means that he is a threat to this male's superiority. So, VXN not so much showing off, but more dominance and maintaining his position within the pride.
From male lion to male impalas, who are all friends now. The rutting season is well and truly over, and we have a bachelor herd. Bachelor herd meaning, of course, that they're all males. And impala are by far the most sort of numerous antelope that you would find in this area of South Africa, in the Kruger Park. Impala are very numerous, very common, but extremely endearing. And this morning, this is the same bachelor herd that were alarm calling at the mating lions. So sadly, no one was at the hyena den. So I'm now going to try and see if I can track down this romantic couple. Now, although they're so numerous, they're sometimes overlooked. They are incredible species. And they're mixed ecotone feeders, which means that they can feed on grass by grazing and browsing the leaves. So they have many options. They don't limit themselves. They're not very specific in what they eat. They're able to eat anything, which means that they can take advantage of all seasons and any conditions that may come by, such as drought or flooding. The impala can still strive and still be successful. look at this pair grooming one another. Isn't that lovely? Now, that would not have happened a few months ago during the rutting season. Abigail, are you asking, do we get poisonous grass? I think that's what you're asking, Abigail. No, I don't believe so. The grass itself is not poisonous, but we do get palatable grass, which is very delicious and nutritious for the grazers. And then we get unpalatable grass, which really is not full of nutrition, and many of the herbivores out here avoid it. Now, of course, you could come across spoiled grass, Abigail, that may have been spoiled by various different contaminants or pollutants from, no doubt, human beings, but no, you don't get any poisonous grasses out here. But there's definitely different grass types that different herbivores prefer. Okay, so now I am on the search for this romantic honeymoon pair of lions.
Welcome back. We are still here with the Nkuhumas, just watching some lovely interaction between a mother and a youngster. There was a little bit of grooming. And then the mother started snarling at the youngster. And as if to disarm the mother, the youngster gave her a simple, tender lick on the head. And that seemed to quell the situation. The snarling has stopped. Some very thick bush here, but still getting a good shot there. Hopefully later get them more out in the open. Gabriel, you're 11 years old. Welcome to the show. It is lovely to hear from you. You've asked how much do I think she weighs? Well, let me have a look. She's not the biggest female, but she is healthy and strong. I would put her weight at probably around 180 kilograms, maybe. So what would that be, about 300 odd, what's that, 2.2, I'm trying to do the math in my head. 350 pounds, maybe? Big cat. They're stocky and dense and heavy. Full of muscle. In the light sometimes you can see their muscles glistening under their skin. Ripped, so to speak. Very little body fat. Pure muscle. Almost powerful cat. Capable of pulling down a Cape buffalo that weighs close to a metric ton, over 800 kilograms. You got to be strong to do that. Quite curious as to where those buffalo were that we had around here this morning. They were just a couple hundred yards away. I think we might go and have a look a little bit later and see if we can find them. Hopefully they're not too far off. These lions were following them all night, so I'm expecting there may be some action later. Rosemary, you say they are such big, strong cats. They are. Very much so. That's why they're probably my favorite animal out here. For the pure reason that they are just power. They ooze power, absolute power. Can you imagine having to tussle with one of these guys? Like I've always said, from the vehicle they look enormous. When you're this close on foot, they are truly terrifying in their size. There's a lovely fresh breeze coming through. Not such a stifling hot afternoon. And this female, a little bit of a siesta on her back there in the breeze. Just gonna reposition here and try and get a little bit of a better shot. Oh, I love those cubs. We are completely surrounded by the majestic Nkuhumas. Powerhouse cats. Look at that lovely yawn, exposing those massive canines. She's power and she knows it. The males come and go. They'll be here for a couple years, the coalition. Might stay here for 3 years, maybe 5 years. But eventually the males will move on and others will come in and take over, younger, stronger males. But these females, these are the nucleus of the pride, the core of the pride. They look after the cubs, they maintain this territory. Of course the males assist them, but these females are the powerhouses that will be here forever, their lineage continuing on, genetics staying in the pride. Kimberly, you've asked how many lion are in this pride. Now, Kimberly, I don't spend so much time here on Djuma. I'm new to the area, but I think there are about 16 to 18, if I'm not mistaken. Round about that.
We're still looking for the mating pair that actually belong to the Djuma Pride. We had them this morning, but I think they're deep in the thicket having some romantic time. So we stopped to admire this yellow-billed hornbill. Hornbills are very iconic birds out here, zazus of the bush, and they're very easy to spend time with. So we have the grey hornbill here, the red-billed hornbill, the yellow-billed hornbill, and the ground hornbills. The ground hornbills are classified as vulnerable, but and off we go. Oh, it's still there, Theo. There we go. And that big yellow-shaped banana beak, when you look at a bird, it's always good to look at the shape of their beak, and it normally sort of tells you exactly what their diet is. You can gauge by looking at the bird's beak on what they eat. And these yellow-billed hornbills, at least, are insectivorous. So they really love eating delicious insects that they spot down on the ground. They've got good eyesight, and they'll be looking down below them to see what is scuttling or crawling that they can pick up with that large beak of theirs. They will also snack on reptiles, such as small lizards, not like the giant plated lizard we saw earlier, but much smaller geckos and such like. Nina, I agree, such a beautiful bird with a beautiful beak. It's unmistakable. You can see that banana-shaped beak flying in the air and you can't miss it. So they will also eat very small reptiles and amphibians like frogs, but the main part of their diet is insects. And that's what this one is doing, going from tree to tree to tree to look for any delicious insects. It's winter here. So the sort of insect life is nowhere near what it is like in summer, where it's absolutely thriving and pulsating with insects. So that means the hornbill has to adapt its diet, and that's when it will start to look for small reptiles, small amphibians, anything that it can snack on, because all the other insects are hiding. So I've done a loop for our lions and I can't see anything yet, so I think they're still in this block. So what I'm going to do is just drive a little bit further in and listen. When lions are mating, it's a very vocal affair. They can't control it. Both the male and female will heavily vocalize when they're mating, and it can be heard from far away. They're exhausted. The two of them are absolutely exhausted. So I imagine that they're having a cat nap. See what I did there? Somewhere in the thicket. So I'm going to keep going with my search. These impalas look very relaxed, and hopefully we will find our mating pair soon.
Well, lions all around. I'm not complaining. I love Lion and I love spending time with him. A lot of people say they're a bit sleepy and a bit lazy, and granted they do spend a lot of time flat, but I suppose you could say a lot of rest punctuated by moments of sheer power. It's so worth the wait when you get to witness them in action. Of course, when they tackle their larger prey, really using their strength, and that larger prey will sustain them for some time. And on that note, Gabriel, you're 11. Thanks again for your questions. You've asked how often the lion have to eat, and it very much depends on what they eat. So, for instance, a large pride like this, I said about 16 to 18. I think that's with the males, maybe about 15, just the females and the cubs. If one impala came stumbling in here and they munched it, it would be nothing more than a starter. Wouldn't fill up all these hungry lions. They would eat it, but they would have to kill again as soon as they could, any opportunity that arises. Whereas if this pride eats a buffalo, it'll last them for a good couple days, maybe 3 days, before they start looking for the next meal. Very much depends on how much they can eat. They can eat huge amounts if available. A male lion, a large male lion, the books will say around 43 kilograms that they can ingest in one sitting. And the females, large females like these here, 20 to 22 kilograms of meat in one sitting. And if they can get that much in, then they're going to be good and fat for a good couple days. Let's see what her plan is. She doesn't look extremely hungry, but time will tell.
So this male leopard has moved a little bit from the sandy riverbank that we were in, or the riverbed, up onto the bank, and looking in a direction which is basically towards one of the roads. And we thought that we might have heard some impalas that were moving through that area, and so maybe he decided to get up and just quickly investigate what those impalas were up to. But the interesting thing, and what I found really cool, is the way that he moved. I mean, him being a leopard, he is completely, or not completely, but very, very dependent on his camouflage and his ability to get close to animals. And the way that they need to do that is to understand cover and get as close as they can. And in this area, one of the best ways to do it is by using the shade. And so he went from one shady patch and he quickly moved across an open patch where he was exposed in the sunlight, got to another shady patch, and that's where he decided to relax. So James, leopards can run very, very fast. And I mean, to put a number on it is quite difficult, but I mean, I've read somewhere in the region of 80 to 90 kilometers an hour sometimes, but they can't sustain that speed for very long. And so it's just basically a sudden burst of acceleration. So once he's used the cover that I was mentioning effectively to get as close as he possibly can to whatever he's hunting, whether it be a mongoose or a bird or an impala, he'll use that burst of acceleration to surprise the animal and try and catch it. So a lot of these animals, you know, they're also very, very quick. And sometimes, specifically impala, will have a much higher endurance than the leopard. And so if he runs too early, those impalas are going to turn, and then they can sustain their speed much, much, much further than this leopard can. And so although that speed is important, I would almost say that acceleration is even more important. But even more important than both speed and acceleration is the ability to make himself disappear and to make it very difficult for the other animals to be able to pick up on any of his movements. So that's why it's quite nice to see that he's using the shade. I mean, it is also hot, so he could also just be using that more to, maybe I'm giving him too much credit. But he is really considering and looking around and seeing what he might be able to get up to, but all within this area and not moving too far away from where his mother last left him. So if the mother does return and wants to lead him back to the kill, then he will definitely be able to. And he's up and moving in the sun. We'll try and follow him and try and get you another view.
From impala to Kudus, we have a female herd. So this is not a bachelor herd. I don't see a male in sight. There could be one around, but I don't see it. This is all females, and there's actually lots of youngsters there, which is very sweet. Young Kudus. Because Kudus grow to, wow, quite a substantial height. There's one walking in front of us right now. It's a youngster. You see that stripes on the body? Disruptive markings. It's trying to break up the body outline. There's another one about to walk. This is an older one. That one doesn't have as many lines on it. Now this is where the lions were this morning, everyone. And therefore, these relaxed kudus are making me think that they're possibly not around anymore. They're browsing. Look at them browse. Isn't she just gorgeous? The tiny one is coming behind her. From the most numerous antelope to the second tallest antelope in southern Africa, the Kudu, one of my favourites. All females around us here at Djuma Game Reserve, no males in sight, just enjoying some leaves, some delicious foliage from around here. It's winter. That also plays a harsh part on the Kudu as well. Now, just a reminder, everyone, please do send in your comments and questions about anything you are seeing on this live safari today. Hashtag WildEarth on Twitter or @FC on the YouTube chat stream. We really want to hear from you. Kevin, Kudu is one species, so that's a single species. You can't get more than one species of kudu, but you can potentially get subspecies. And what subspecies means is it's genetically the same species, but there will be differences because they're from different geographical locations. So you get different subspecies, but species, no. Kudu is a species in its entirety. And they're the second tallest to the eland. We don't get elands here, I'm afraid. But you do get elands in other part of Africa. They're very large. You get elands in other part of southern Africa as well. But not in this area, in the Kruger where we are right now. So the tallest antelope that we get are the kudu. But there's a lot of youngsters in this herd, which is really lovely to see. So I have a funny feeling our lions are not here, since the kudus are, but still, I'm going to bumble on and try to find them.
You good? Okay, so we're sitting at this little waterhole now. We've done a little temporary blind, literally just out of some branches. And as David pans across, you'll see what we've done. So this is a really, really good method of concealing yourself, and it doesn't have to be completely concealed. It just breaks up your outline. And so we're hoping for something to come down and drink. There were some mountain zebra in the area now. There are some kudu around. There's lots of sign of zebra as well, and of course the old favorite, some really nice bird watching. When we arrived, there was a small group of black-winged stolts. There's lots of yellow canaries around at the moment, but we'll just be patient and see if we get anything exciting coming down to the water. It's all exciting, that's the thing. Every single thing, doesn't matter how big or small it is just the best.
And I agree, from big to small, it's all special and interesting out here. We are currently with the bigs, the big cats. I'm secretly hoping for a little hunting action later. As we said earlier, buffalo are not far off, and they were following them all night. So maybe we see a hunt, but it's not only hunting that lions need to do, they also readily scavenge, which is sometimes unknown. They, obviously being the largest predators, they can easily displace any other predators from their kill. So if they find a leopard or a hyena on a kill, then they'll very easily chase them off, unless of course it's a huge clan of hyenas. But for the most part, a lion on a scavenger mission will be able to grab that kill. They also often watch vultures and see where the vultures come down. So very resourceful, you could say. Mark, you've asked how long a lioness is pregnant for. Approximately 3 months. They can't be pregnant for very long. The reason for that is it wouldn't bode too well for a lioness to try and do a high-speed hunt with a massive pregnant belly. So the young are born quite helpless. Altricial young, we call them. Blind little cubs that are just little whelps that can't do anything from the short gestation period, and they'll be well hidden. Lovely to see some cubs in this pride. I hope that they succeed on their road to adulthood. It's not easy.
So we were just about to try and find that young male leopard, and we found a very, very interesting blade of grass that I thought it might be worth trying to tell you about. And that blade of grass is very interesting now. There's a leopard in here, and we just thought we'd try and give you the opportunity to quickly try and spot it out yourselves. And I'm sure it's something that all of the viewers have heard over and over and over again, but these leopards have got this amazing ability to just blend in with their surroundings, and that to me was one of the prime examples. There's a couple of blades of grass just in front of its face, and as soon as we zoom out, I mean, apart from that ear flicking every now and again, it completely disappears. But why this is interesting is this is actually a different leopard to the one that we were following. And we were actually just about to look at that tail. Oh, that's beautiful. So we were just about to drive out of this drainage line and loop around to see if we could intercept that young male. And that tail gave this young female's position away. So this is his sister. And so it's nice to see that they're both very, very close to one another. She just seems like she's slightly more well-behaved and just waiting for the mother to return. Sure, that's a good question, Sass. And, I mean, it's difficult to say. If I were to kind of give a number on it, I would say that leopards are more successful in hunting impalas than lions are. And that's only because leopards, impalas tend to be leopards' main source of prey. And so they probably spend a lot more time actively hunting impalas, where lions will hunt impalas seasonally, and they love to hunt impalas in the rutting season, and also potentially when they've just given birth and those lambs are very vulnerable. And so because leopards tend to hunt impalas much more regularly throughout the year, they might be slightly more skilled, and they kind of have a better idea on how to hunt them. So for that reason, I would probably say that leopards and lions, you know, they've both got a pretty good success rate against impala, but I'd say leopards have probably got a better chance of catching impala than lions do.
Got a slender mongoose drinking here. This is a fantastic sighting. It's a very, very common animal, but so seldom is it seen like we're seeing it now, just out in the open drinking water like that. And the amazing thing, if you look at that beautiful red colour, where our colleagues are working, it's a much darker, almost like a brown coloured animal. So this red colour is unique to this Kalahari region. And look at that, he's gone. The birds hate these little animals because they are renowned nest raiders, and they will go up any tree to get to a bird's nest. One of our, in fact, David sitting right here, as I say, one of our colleagues, David, our cameraman, sitting right here with me. He's actually witnessed a slender mongoose and a black mamba having it out over a dead hare that the mamba had caught. So these little animals are not scared of snakes at all. They are tough as nails. This is like the classic rikki-tikki-tavi from a Jungle Book. That was such a lucky sighting, that, sure. And now we've got a lot of birds. These are mostly, yeah, Krishni says that's so gorgeous, that mongoose, and it is. So we've got a lot of yellow canaries coming here, the very dull ones. We actually got scaly feathered finches, or those other ones, and then that bright yellow one is a yellow canary. So we've got lots of yellow canaries, lots of scaly feathered finches. There's been mouse birds in and out. It's just so exciting to sit at a waterhole like this and just wait. There's a mouse bird in there as well, a white-backed mouse bird as well somewhere.
We are looking at this kudu from a distance, everyone, because we have a surprise for
So we got some birchall sandgrouse that have just rocked up to the water. The female is the one on the left. In other words, the one that is closest to us, and the male is the one on the right with that lovely orange chest and the grey head. And normally they don't drink for very long. It'll just be normally a couple of seconds that they drink, and then they fly off. And these are the birds, all the sandgrouse species, are the ones that exhibit the belly wetting behavior, where they actually stand in the water. The male absorbs water on the feathers, and then they fly all the way back to the nest. Okay, so we just had those birchall sandgrouse that came in here to drink, and they've just flown off. Yeah. But maybe we'll get some more coming down. We must just wait and be patient. So, using a little blind like this is a very, very quickly made temporary structure that we've put together over here. Literally, it took us about 5 minutes, not even. But they are invaluable for watching animals. Wherever you are, even if it's in your garden, it's just these tiny little kind of blinds. Literally, it's just a couple of sticks that we put together, branches, and it just pays off so handsomely. That slender mongoose, it was not even 10 minutes into it after we put this up, and then we had a slender mongoose. If we were sitting out here in the open, without this, we wouldn't have seen that mongoose.
So this leopardess has put her head down, and she's making it very difficult for us to see her. I mean, it's almost impossible now. You can just see the white of her stomach as she breathes up and down. So as I was saying a little bit earlier, It's really nice to see that both the male and the female, so the brother and sister, are together still. And it just seems like she's probably being more behaved than the brother, which seems like that thing happens quite a lot in life. And, you know, it is two youngsters. And I know with the hyena den specifically in Djuma, if the mothers aren't there, the guides have decided to take a step back and not view them. And we used to do this with these two leopards, but they've reached the age now where we feel that they're more than safe and more than comfortable by themselves. And so that's why we feel that it's perfectly fine for us to view them around with the mother when it's light, as soon as, or without the mother at least. If the mother's not here and it's starting to get dark, then we'll decide to leave them and not bother them too much. Striped horse, I think a leopard's best sense is their eyesight. They've got a very, very, very good eyesight, but they'll probably use all three of their eyesight or all three of their senses when they're starting to hunt. And so, you know, they might react to a smell or a noise, and then they look up and they see what it is, and then they'll start moving through the bush towards it. But for me, I mean, eyesight for a leopard is by far their best. I'd love to see where the brother has ended up. He did get up and started moving away from us. And so once this leopard, I mean, she seems like she's showing good signs of being completely relaxed. And so we might try and sneak past her eventually and see if we can follow that young male and see if he gives us some entertaining views of him trying to hunt some small things or maybe even the larger thing that he can't really handle too well. And just as I say that, I thought I heard some sort of squealing or alarm call from the bird off to the right-hand side, so I think we might just do that and go and investigate what that noise was.
We found them, the exhausted pair. This is one of the Avoca males, Mohawk, because, well, he has a mohawk. And one of the we call her the youngest lioness, belongs to the Djuma Pride. She's the daughter of Ridge-Nose, one of our older lionesses, and this is the first time that WildEarth here have witnessed her mating. And they're exhausted. They've managed to find some shade, which is a good thing, but the mating goes on for a really long time. It's protracted mating, and it can last up to a week. On average, it's around 5 days, and it's very much on par with her estrus cycle. Happens about every 20 minutes. They forego water, they forego food. They must be exhausted, hot, and hungry. His sole mission is to guard her, protect her, watch her every move so that no male comes in and steals her. And her sole mission is just to mate as much as possible in order to ensure that the mating is successful and it results in conception so that she can then go on to give birth to a litter. Leslie, lions can sleep for a very long time. They're notorious for being the lazy cats of the bush, but actually, they're lazy during the day because they're primarily nocturnal. So they walk great distances during the night. They call, which takes up a lot of energy. They go on territorial patrol. They hunt. They play. Everything happens at night because it's cooler and it's darker. So when we see them during the day, yes, they sleep a lot. But that's because they're recuperating. Just like we sleep 8 hours at night, give or take. They also need to sleep during the day. And it's far too hot for them. A mammal that's covered in hair, look at that thick mane, to be very active during the day. So I'm very glad I found our mating couple. Hopefully they're going to get up and actually mate soon.
So
We've got some really nice birding going on here. We've had Namaquid doves come down, we've had red-eyed bulbuls come down, we've got yellow canaries, white-backed mousebird, Namaquid doves, birchall sandgrouse. We got an ashy, not an ashy tit, what do you call that thing? Chestnut-vented tit babbler. But you can see there's like quite a flurry of activity there on the far side. If you can just, I'm just looking through David's screen over here. If you can zoom in there, David. I don't know if you're able to there, how much you can. Okay, I'll tell you what those are now. Okay, so those are all scaly feathered finches, and we have yellow canary females. We have a chestnut-vented tit babbler. Oh, so much activity going on here. And of course we'd always keep our eyes open for lions, because lions could rock up here at any time. It is quite warm for them to be moving now, but you never know.
Well, unfortunately, no mating is taking place right now, but it will. I can guarantee you it will. They'll wake up out of their sleepy slumber and then they'll do what they have to. And it's quite violent. It's loud. They'll both make sort of really loud vocalizations. And from a human perspective, it never looks very pleasant. She's in a lot of discomfort. She's swollen. And he is, well, let's just say spent. He's exhausted. Susan, he has stunning eyes. Sometimes he gets called crazy eyes because of the way he stares deeply at you, but he's absolutely gorgeous male lion, and we're lucky to have the Avoca Coalition around. The other males are scattered. One's up north and another one is with the rest of the pride, and this guy here is sitting here with us. So it's been absolutely fantastic to find them. Thank you everyone for jumping on board. Please do join us same time, same place tomorrow. Goodbye for now. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our romantic episodes continuing with Mohawk here and the youngest lioness of the Nkuhuma Pride. We finally managed to locate them. I anticipated that they would have moved great distances, and I did a huge loop when in fact they were actually here all along. My name is Lauren. I have Theo on camera. It's really, really hot today, which is why I think this pair are a little bit more exhausted than normal. They haven't, well, I imagine they haven't drank any water, or at least not enough. So they're just completely exhausted. I think we'll wait for a few mating bouts. Oh, we've got a southern crown shrike up there. You just see up here on this marula tree, Theo. We've got a shrike, or a white crown shrike, I think. Let's take a look. So yes, of course, this is your live safari, everyone, all you normal, regular, fantastic viewers. So please do talk to us. Send in your comments and questions using the hashtag Safari Live. No, just caught myself there. That's wrong. Hashtag WildEarth on Twitter and at FC on the YouTube chat stream. We really want to hear from you, so please make sure you send in all of those questions. So this is a southern white crowned shrike, sitting on a marula tree, probably unaware that there's two lions underneath. So we're going to sit here and hopefully catch them mating, but for now we're going to send you across to Brave Dave with the rest of the pride.
Well, we just swung around the back of where this Nkuhuma pride is lying. Been enjoying watching the youngsters suckle on mom. And here comes the youngest for a little drink. How lovely is this? We've just really been enjoying these lions this afternoon, watching their movements and the funny social dynamics that you only realize when you spend a lot of time with lion. It's lovely to learn about them. Little baby's right there at the back of Mom, having a little drink. Andy asked, will a lion pull the outer layer of its claw out like a cat does? I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. Are you maybe you're referring to about how the nails do shed? I've seen that before. But they are retractable claws. That means they are not normally visible, just barely, and they can extend them. But I'm not exactly sure I understand what you're meaning there, Andy.
So we're still sitting bird watching. We're actually not going to go anywhere. I had plans this afternoon of actually trying to find those lion cubs, but then I got waylaid. But they say the best laid plans of mice and men going after angling. But so the other thing, while we're at it, look at that algae on top of this water. You can just see this beautiful green color. It looks like pea soup, which is not my favorite soup. But there you have it. So these are algal blooms. Very, very common, very, very typical, and not dangerous at all. There are certain scenarios where it can become excessive, but that's unlikely in these very, very, very small bodies of water. And you get these, occasionally you get these classic die-offs of algae in big bodies of water where it grows like a super nutrient-rich water, that lots of algae grows, but if it dies off through whatever purpose, then it sinks, and then you get these incredibly anoxic conditions, very, very low oxygen conditions, and you get like mass die-offs of fish and things. But when you see algae like this in these small bodies of water, it's perfectly fine, perfectly healthy, and it's a part of the system itself. And there's a lot of little things that feed on it. Those shell ducks that we've been watching, the baby shell ducks, and even the adults, they'll filter feed on anything that's in the water, because there's a lot of little invertebrates that feed on this algae inside the water. So then the shell ducks feed on those, black-winged stilts will feed. There's so many things. The list is endless. Even David was scooping it up just now and drinking it. Yeah, it says delicious. Chrissy, you've asked a great question there. Chrissy's asked, do we have any violet-eared waxbills? We do have violet-eared waxbills, and they are one of my favourite little birds here. But probably, yeah, I've got so many favourites. But yes, we do have violet-eared waxbills. And then the other one that we've got here is a black-cheeked waxbill, and they are stunning, 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 like a dark maroon and black grey bird. Beautiful little things. Oh no, there's some very fun birds in this place. But you know, as one would expect in a semi-arid area, the diversity is not as high as many other areas where you get higher rainfall. They call them more mesic areas. But everything out here plays a crucial role in the system. It doesn't mean just because you don't have a high biodiversity that it's not important. Okay, what's it? There's a fawn-coloured lark. You see that one to the right there, David? There's a big white one, go more right. A little bit more right, he's at the edge of the water there, that one, in the middle of the frame there now, bending down, drinking. On the edge of the water, go a little bit more right. There, that one. There's a fawn-coloured lark for you. And there's a Cape turtle dove even further across to the right that's coming down to drink. That dove there now in frame. There you go. Now that dove is the species. Remember we looked at that little nest this morning and the other day? This is the species of dove that we're talking about. We just saw the chicks there It's a Cape turtle dove, also some people call it the ringneck dove. Man, oh man, do I like sitting in a hole. It is the best.
Sitting by a waterhole, especially at this time of day, can really be fruitful, and I think that's what we're going to start heading towards now. And the only reason being is that that one male leopard, I think, is in the very dense thickets, and if he's not lying down in the shade, what he's going to be doing is just moving through some very, very thick things where it will be very difficult for us to try and get a view of him. And the female is staying put, lying in the long grass. And so we thought that we'll go and check the nearest waterhole, and you never know, the mother could be somewhere around there. There could be some really nice views of elephants that we see. And so I just think it's been such a beautiful hot day today that the animals need to go and have something to drink, and so it will be a good area for us to check. We started our day off really nicely. The female wasn't obliging, but at least we got to see some beautiful views of that young male.
We probably will leave this couple at some point, but I would just like to see them mating, as bizarre as that sounds. You can sort of gauge where they are in their mating bout by how frequently they're mating. I just want to see exactly how long it takes for them to wake up and, well, do the deed, shall we say. But Mohawk here is rolled over like a big cuddly teddy bear. And Theo said, my goodness, look at the size of his paws. They are huge. Enlightened, great question. So the males are always ready. Nothing will stop them. And they are waiting for a receptive female. So females generally tend to operate on 2-year cycles. They try to, this is a very average figure, but they try to sort of have a litter every 2 years on average. And when she comes into estrus, which can happen all year round, he picks up on scents. So I talk about animal communication a lot. I talk about perception. He is understanding her needs purely through scent. He's got a special organ on the roof of his mouth, and he will go up to her rear end, open his mouth, phlegm and grimace, and he's trying to pump the air into his mouth as much as he can that's coming from her genitals, and understand where she is. Is she receptive? Is she in estrus? Is she about to come into estrus? Has she finished her estrus cycle? He will understand all of that in a way that humans cannot. They don't verbally communicate. There will be a little bit of behavioral changes from the female, but that's not what he's looking for. He's looking for the scent. So generally females try to time giving birth with the summer. The plethora of prey species everywhere. Impala lambs, Kudu lambs, and Yalas, but they can give birth any time throughout the year. It's not seasonal. And normally they synchronize. So when one lioness goes into estrus, they all can go into estrus. But he's understanding her needs through scent and her pheromones that she's releasing, which is really fascinating because, of course, humans are not designed that way. We're not built that way at all. There's no way we can understand each other like that through scent. And as soon as any lioness shows that they are receptive, they're ready, they're coming into estrus, that's him, on point, on the ball, and he will guard her furiously. The only time he will leave her, he's literally like a shadow. As you move, your shadow moves, right? This is pretty much what we're looking at here. And he'll only leave her when he gets so exhausted, and he's done. He's completely spent and empty. When I say empty, I mean energy-wise. That was not the correct term to use, Lauren. So yes, I'm going to sit tight for just one mating bout, and then we'll bumble and we'll probably head to a waterhole.
Welcome everyone to Pride Lands Conservancy. I'm Mike. Behind the camera we've got Seb, and we are just looking around for some elephants that were in the area, but they seem to have moved off now. We've got one of the maintenance guys going to be coming down the road. Sorry about that. But yeah, there were elephants in this area. We're looking for them, and I hope we're going to find them soon. There's also Susan's herd, which I'm sure you met this morning, that are somewhere near Leopard Dam. So we'll go and check them out if we don't find these bulls that are in this area. And then after that, who knows? There were leopards seen this morning as well, which we hope we can find a little bit later in the morning as it cools down and see if they are going to get active. In fact, there were 2 leopards that were briefly seen this morning. This was after game drive. One person was going out and they bumped into a leopard on this road that we're on right now, actually. So we also hope that we might just get lucky enough. And then another leopard closer to Leopard Dam, which might well be one of the ones you've seen before. Maybe Pixie Pan is back in the area. Who knows? Let's cross our fingers and see what the afternoon will bring us.
Just got a lock. I think he's just up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So we've just got this fawn-coloured lark. We're talking about that's drinking right in front of us, yeah. Oh man, this is just in front of the lens. Sorry guys. Ah, these things happen, man. Okay, oh, look at this little prunier. Go left, go left, go left. He's going to come right in front of the camera now. Watch this, watch this, watch this. This is a black-chested prunier. Come on, they're playing hard to get now. Give us, yeah, it's coming out. There you go. Look. He's going to come out. Beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. Oh my goodness. And he's hunting. They are so fast. So these little birds are hunting. That black-chested prunier is actually hunting little insects, little invertebrates along the edge of the water. Not necessarily the typical thing that they do. That lark's gone. But he'll take any opportunity. So if he sees, there's some little things moving on the edge of the water, he'll go down and actually go for them. I'm always just amazed. It's such a simple screen, and suddenly you get things like drinking right in front of you. But as it gets cooler, it's actually still quite hot now. I'm hoping. So Craig has asked, will the water last until the summer rains? This one is actually a pumped waterhole, but what you're seeing here is probably 85%, 90% rainwater. We've just got a very, very, very small trickle. When I say pump, we just use solar panels and a submersible solar pump, which is puts in a very, very conservative amount of water per day. So this is actually mostly rainwater that we're looking at, and by end of October, this is going to be literally a tiny, tiny, tiny little mud puddle at best. But there'll be enough for the birds and odd animals to come drink. I was just saying to David, if a pride of lions rocks up here, I've just suggested that he waits here, and then I'll go get help. One of us has to make it out there, David. It's like democracy, one man, one vote, and I'm the one to vote. HB says, this is an amazing view. I wish you were all here with us. I know you are, kind of like living vicariously through us, but I wish you were all here to see this, because it is the coolest place on the planet. Like I say, for me, that sense of expectation. You never know what's going to arrive. Life is like a box of chocolates. But you never know what's going to rock up here. It could be anything. As that slender mongoose was testament to. That was a really, really good slender mongoose sighting, that. But it's still quite hot. So as the temperature starts cooling down, then we're probably more likely to get 1 or 2 things popping down to drink.
It's hot. It's very hot. It's almost bordering on summer temperatures, but it's dry. It's not got that moisture in the air. sort of sticky feeling. Still no movement from the lions. I'm timing it. It's been quite a while now. I'm just not sure exactly how long this pair have actually been going for. Siraj, you're asking, do lions struggle with something in summer compared to winter? Kirsten will repeat that for me. Oh, flies! Not as much. Summer's definitely worse for insects in general. They're just everywhere. As I mentioned earlier, the landscape's almost pulsating with insects. You cannot even move without seeing insects everywhere. And I'm very much looking forward to that time coming around again. So it's definitely worse in summer, but when lions are at a carcass, they are surrounded by flies. The flies are, of course, attracted to the smell, so there'll be flies on the carcass and there'll be flies all around the lions. I sometimes feel slightly sorry for them. It really can't be pleasant. So yes, it's definitely worse in summer, Suyash, but they do also struggle with flies in winter as well. And that's why, especially leopards of all the cats are meticulous groomers, and cheetah, because they have to keep clean. If they don't clean themselves, they will attract all sorts of nasty insects, and that will irritate them even more. Lions do groom themselves, but they're lucky. They allo-groom, which means that they all groom one another, which is definitely the benefit of living in a pride. So once again, I've got my patience pants on. We're waiting for the mating.
Well, we have stopped for some entertainment. Along the way, we left the lion, and we thought we would do a little whodunit quiz. Hope everyone's really excited. We've got 6 contestants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, there's another one I forgot about. 7. So, from 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go for it. And now obviously you can't touch, so it makes it a little bit harder for you. So I'm going to pop you some clues of the makeup. This, nice and big, very wet. Predominantly, actually only grass inside here. So that's number 1. Very similar. Lots of grass. But there's also sticks. So, see little twigs, pieces of bark. Here, very well ground up. So something that chews a lot. That one's nice and ground up. In its natural form, this is probably a little bit of a younger animal. A bit of a patty, that's number 3. Number 4, well, don't really know how to describe it. There's lots of grass in it. Nice and chewed up grass. And it's kind of clumpy, so little pellets that have been pushed together in little clumps. Number 5, how do I explain this one? The makeup, grass mostly, a little bit of a kidney shape to the dropping. Number 6, over here, little pellets, little chocolate eclairs. Inside them, very ground up plant matter. Difficult to actually see what is what, but very ground up. A little bit of a chocolate taste. Number 7, what is this? I was joking about the chocolate taste, by the way. It really doesn't taste like chocolate. What is number 7? Looks very similar to number 6, but very light. Lots of plant matter as well. It looks like it's been digested maybe more than once. There's a bit of a clue there. So there we have it, contestants 1 through 7. Looking forward to these answers. Number 1. Sophie, number 1, you say rhino, and number 2, you got elephant. Well done. You have won. We're off to a good start, number 1 and 2. I'm looking for number 3 and number 4. Very, very well done, Sophie. Good job. So, the rhino, only grass. This is a white rhino. We don't really get many black rhino around here. And that was the giveaway. Elephant, very similar, but it's got more than just grass in it. It's got a lot of bark and twigs. Roxanne, we've jumped ahead to number 6. You've called it Impala. Well done. These little chocolate eclairs that don't taste like chocolate eclairs. They make for very good spitting competitions called bok drolletjie spoeg. Maybe we'll do one of those for you one day. Very good, Roxanne. These are Impala droppings. Nico, you've jumped ahead and answered the difficult one. Number 7, a scrub hare. Well done. That is a scrub hare pellet. Our scrub hare practice something interesting called coprophagia, which is where they actually ingest their own dung. So they kind of get double the nutrition out of what they've eaten. And that's often why it's so well digested, so white. Well done, Nico. You got number 7. It is a scrub hare. Elaine, number 4. You got it on the head. You guys are doing very well. This is wildebeest. Wildebeest dung droppings, very typical. Sometimes it's a bit scattered out. You can actually see some behind me here. Been dried and some of it already broken down by termites. But when it's a bit wetter, it clumps together like this. And that is indeed wildebeest. Well done. And all we have left, number 5 and number 3. Who's it going to be? Susie, you got it. Number 3 is buffalo. Well done. We picked this up, that's why it's still quite wet. Because this is the herd we were following this morning. And we're actually still following them now. So we stopped for a little quiz and grabbed some of their leftovers to add to the quiz. Well done. Number 3 is buffalo. And the grand finale is number 5. Peter, we had to get one wrong, and unfortunately it has to be you. This is not zebra. What's the other one that's so similar? And I don't blame you for this, because not being here makes it very hard. I would even be confused sometimes if I didn't actually see the animal's track. This is a warthog, but very close. Can't blame you for that one. They have very similar dung. It's not an easy one, so well done. I'll take zebra, seeing as you are probably on the other side of the world, possibly behind a screen, and it's a very large disadvantage to not be able to actually pick up and examine like I've done. So not a worry at all, Peter. Well done though. Well done to all the contestants. I'm impressed. But Gremlins General, I know you got warthog. Well done. Good job. You've run it very well. Thank you for humouring me in my little whodunit quiz. It's always fun to learn a little bit more about what comes out the back end.
So we're just sitting here and we've got 3 Impala rams, youngsters, sub-adults that actually came down. And they didn't come down to the water, they actually went to that big white thing that looks like a sugar cube. It's a mineral lick. We've spoken about these before. There are certain minerals lacking in these environments, sodium being one of the big ones. We are so far inland, and your sodium gradient is from the coastal areas the highest, inland the lowest. So we do a couple of supplementary lick blocks a couple of times a year at the Wattles. So these little guys came out, and they went straight to the lick block, and now the one's picked up on us. But the incredible thing here is, if we were sitting completely out in the open and they recognized the human form, they would have just trotted off. But now, because our outline is really broken up over here, they're not quite sure what's going on. And you can see now he's like settling down. He's like, alright, he doesn't think he's going to get eaten. And these animals are so sharp. Those of you who have been to the bush will know Impala, they really miss a thing. And there's a good reason for that, because they're on everyone's menu. So they're quite sharp. So if we can kind of out. Dia has asked, what is the difference between an antelope and a deer? That's a great question. Good one. Typically, one of the best ways of defining features there is that a deer grow antlers, which they lose every season. So those antlers will drop off every season on the males, and then they will regrow going into the breeding season again. Antelope retain their horns right through the year. So an impala gets horns, it will keep those horns unless they get broken off in a fight or something, or defending itself. But otherwise their horns will grow throughout their life to a point where they actually start wearing down. Whereas deer, like I say, they got these beautiful big antlers. Many of you will know white-tailed deer, red deer, fallow deer. There's a whole stack of deer, different deer species. Oh dear. I'm being so fallow now. Oh, what a great afternoon. The wind is pushing up in our favour now. It's just picking up. When we started here, there was hardly a breath of wind, and now it's moving in from the left-hand side of the frame, very gently across to the right, which is exactly what I want. I don't want the wind cutting from behind us towards those impala, because I think that's where, if we get other things coming down to drink, it's going to be from that side. Behind us is a bit of an embankment, which makes it less likely for game to come drink from the side. They much prefer those wide open flat areas, especially in areas where we've got a high likelihood of lions going for them in these dense thickets. I mean, Dave and I, we're probably being stalked as we're sitting here already.
The waiting on the mating game, well, it's not really a game because nothing has happened. They were really, really fast and furious this morning, but of course it wasn't as warm. It was nice and cool. The sun wasn't as high in the sky. But now, they're just flat cats. They will get up though. The minute she moves, he will move, and he will be right on her tail. Anna, you're asking how good is the eyesight of a lion? I think that was your question, Anna. It's really, really good. So their primary sort of senses in your cats, your felidae, is the scent. And it's not just talking about the nostrils when I say scent. It's that organ in the roof of the mouth. So it's that organ of Jacobson. It's really, really important to your felidae and many other organisms out here. But let's just stick to cats. But yes, they have really, really good eyesight, and they're specially sort of adapted for nocturnal vision, which humans are not. They have a very special layer called the tupidum lucidum, and it's Latin, that's why it sounds rather strange when I say it. And it's a very, very special sort of layer in their eye that allows light to reflect twice onto the retina. And that gives them sort of a, well, much better night vision, shall we say. And that's what we look for when we're shining our spotlight. We're looking for reflection from eye shine, and that's coming from the tupidum lucidum. And I'm sure it's Latin for bright tapestry. So it's a sort of tapestry. It's the inner layer of the eye, the intricate sort of, layers of the eye all weave together to create this tapestry that makes the landscape around them nice and bright. It's a special layer of tissue. And many vertebrates have it, but it's really, really prominent in your apex predators that are primarily nocturnal. And all the visible light that you can see, it reflects it back. So essentially it's a retro reflector, really. So it comes back twice, and they have much better night vision. So they do have good vision, very acute vision, acute hearing, and a fantastic sense of smell. But you see many apex predators, lions and leopards, with one eye. They've got binocular vision, but they can still survive and thrive with one eye, really, because they're probably making up for the lack of that eye with their other senses. They navigate the landscape entirely differently from the way that humans do. And they're mainly navigating through the use of scent. Hunting at night time means that they've got to rely on other senses. But once it gets to that sort of crepuscular time of day when the sun is starting to set and the ambient light is becoming really, really low, humans struggle. I know that I struggle. But this is the sort of prime time for your predators. This is when their eyes will kick into action. And they're able to see perfectly. Kate, you're asking how do they know when they're successful with mating? That's a very tricky question. The male, I guess, will never know. They will finish their mating bout when her scent changes. So when the sort of pheromones that are being released from her genitals change, it will signal to him that her estrous cycle has came to an end. So the sort of lovely pairing or partnership that we have here right now will change, and he will just leave her. She doesn't need to be guarded anymore. She doesn't need to have a security guard 24/7, because no other male will want to mate with her because she's not in her estrous cycle anymore. Now for females, this is actually a question that's, well, of much debate, really. Does any female, let's just stick to mammals, does any mammalian species, female-wise, understand when she is pregnant? And it's a great question that I don't believe really anyone has the answer to yet. I mean, even humans, there's lots of examples of humans not being aware that they're pregnant quite far into the pregnancy, and they get a surprise. Whether it's a happy surprise or not, I do not know. But do lionesses become aware that they're pregnant? I'm really not sure. I would imagine, yes, they would feel it. There would be some sort of, well, cognitive recognition that they are pregnant. And then, of course, once it's time to give birth, then all the biological instincts kick in. So, Kate, that's a great question, but I'm not entirely sure that science has the answer yet. I mean, lionesses hunt even when they're quite heavily pregnant. It's only when they really need to give birth that they'll remove themselves. So I'm determined to see the mating. So, of course, the waiting continues.
So we left the Waterhole, not too much activity going on, and we thought that we would just quickly go and check one last waterhole before we start making our way towards an area where there was some lion seen this morning. So we don't really want to get there now, only because it's just so hot. But we've come to another dry riverbed, and it's always worth just spending a few minutes or a few moments to just quickly stop and look around. Remember when we first started this afternoon, that young male leopard was lying in the shade in one of these dry sandy riverbeds. So there's always a possibility of seeing a leopard like that. And if not any mammals, there's always some beautiful birds that hang around drainage lines like this. Some stunning kingfishers, bush shrikes. But it seems very, very quiet and not too much going on, so I still think it's quite hot. So most of the birds are probably still inactive until it gets a bit cooler. There's the other side, look at that view. It's just really pretty, even if we don't have an animal to show you. And what's really cool is if we look on the right-hand side of the track or the bank, you can actually see the debris and how high this river was flowing when we had our floods last season. So all of those clumps of grass and debris at the very edge of the sand. So you can just imagine this raging torrent of water rushing through here. It's quite hard to believe when you see it dried up, but I mean it was flowing so strong that we actually couldn't cross it for a couple of days this season. And that takes a lot of water. And eventually, if you keep driving down this drainage line, another maybe about 400-500 meters, you get to the Timbavati River. So this is one of the major tributaries of the Timbavati River within Ngala. So because there's no life here, we'll go check up towards the Waterhole and see if we can find anything else.
Oh, these little Impala are still here. Still doing the Impala thing. The bird activity is picking up in a big way now. Then I think we're going to see more and more of that over the coming hour or so. But I'm actually hoping for some other things to come down. I know there's like a giraffe in the area, there's some red hartebeest, there's mountain zebra. And then you get these weird little things like these slender mongoose. Decker says, how do you age an impala? When you got these short horns, so these are what we call sub-adults, till they're about a year and a half old, give or take, as they get these big lyre-shaped horns, so the horns will actually start curling out a little bit, further back, and then upwards, vertically. And then you got your adult male, so that'll be about 4 years, 5 years, give or take. And then what we call, in South Africa, call them penkoppe, which means... It's like a pin is it's not the English word of a pin is the Dutch word. It's like a spike, basically. So and when they like up to 8, 9, 10 months old, you got literally 2 tiny little sharp spikes that are as the horns coming out. So there's different ways, and you got to look at the individual animal. But these ones are about, I'd go about 15, 16 months, give or take, on these ones. Females are obviously more difficult because you can go on body size as well. That's the other thing. People go on about the horns, but you can look at body size as well. Because you can see these your big rams. A large adult male ram is going to be another 10, 12 kilograms in mass on top of these ones as well.
So we are just driving around Pride Lands looking for, any unusual things that we haven't been seeing a lot of lately, and we're on our way towards Leopard Dam. And we just came across these giraffes. They're not doing anything particularly unusual, feeding on these thorny bushes as giraffes tend to do. They've got all the tools for it, for the long mouth and long eyelashes and heavy brows to protect them. It's just beautiful, with the sun setting and the light hitting their sides. It's just quite a gorgeous scene. We were just heading towards Leopard Dam to see if there were elephants coming down. And also just what I wanted to show you was maybe there's a couple of marula trees here, which are very unusual, which I don't think you would have seen marula trees just like it. Oh, look, it's like a mirror image. The 2 giraffes are facing opposite each other in the exact same pose. It's interesting, female giraffes, which these are, don't often feed at the highest that they can. Generally speaking, they reach downwards. And I'm not sure exactly why they do that. The male giraffes you'll often see reaching at their full height to the very tops of the trees. And I think that's just probably because the oxpeckers are disturbing the giraffes. Their sharp little claws are digging into their skin. After a while it must get quite annoying. But yeah, I think it's because female giraffes just aren't as tall as the males. So it's probably just easier for them to feed lower. The question is, how far will giraffes migrate, if at all? Now, honestly, I don't think giraffes migrate much. They move, in response to food and rainfall and that kind of stuff. Oh, MJ asked the question. Thank you very much. They kind of move to wherever the food is best, but they have a home range, and it depends completely on how much food there is. If there's a lot of food, then they'll move big distances. If there's not much, if there's a lot of food, they'll stay in a small area. If there's not much food, they'll move much larger distances in order to get to it. So it all depends. I know there are giraffes in certain parts of Namibia, which is very dry, which will walk along the dry river courses. They might move much further distances to get food than the giraffes, say, here in South Africa, where they have usually quite a lot of green vegetation and all these little drainage lines and things? That's a good question. Once again, showing off how well these giant animals can be hidden amongst these bushes. Well, anyway, we're going to keep going down towards Leopard Dam and see what else is about.
Well, someone's awake. She's chewing on the branches and gnawing on all the sticks, which is actually very sweet. He's got his tail draped over her back. I'm not sure if we can see it from this angle, but it's very sweet. He's just holding on to her. Yes, you can see it a little bit. He's got his tail completely over her rib cage so that if she moves, he'll feel it and immediately he'll wake up. But she's starting to eat the vegetation, which is rather bizarre. I don't know why she's doing that. Ian, how much neck rotation do lions have? I have no idea. I have never thought of that question before. I would imagine it's very similar to humans. There's few sort of specialized animals that have been, well, naturally selected to move their necks in different ways. So I would imagine it's very, very similar to humans. But I actually do not know. I shall try and find out for you. They definitely can't go 360 degrees, I know that much. And they don't really need to. I mean, they do have binocular vision, but they can swing their heads from side to side. And due to the fact that they are very social cats, there's always someone on the lookout. They can relax a lot more when they're with their pride in comparison to leopards. Leopards, they're on their own, completely solitary, no choice but to look after yourself. Whereas lions, when they're together, they can at least look after one another, and they do. But the lionesses and the male lions have very muscular necks. Not quite elongated like a hyena, but it's very muscular. And that's for pulling and dragging carcasses. Very powerful animals. I don't quite know what she's doing. Something's taking her fancy on this stick here. But she's still not standing up to encourage mating. Look at the size of his paw. Can we just take a look at that? It's huge. Now, we often say that the cats have retractable claws. But that's actually the wrong term. A better term to use is protractile claws rather than retractable. And this is because it's to do with the sort of muscular contractions. But we shall come back to that topic soon. Hopefully, the sleepyheads are waking up for some activity.
And so this is the waterhole that we wanted to check. And not much in terms of life around here, apart from a couple of hippos, the trusty old hippos that are in this waterhole. And, I mean, if you were watching this morning, we were in a waterhole who was maybe a little bit smaller than this, but in a completely different area of the reserve. And this morning we had waterbuck, we had zebra, impala, warthog, wildebeest. So there was at least 5 different mammals that came and stayed around the waterhole. And I was saying that the vegetation is so much different there than it is to here, where here there's a thick layer of bush right up until the water's edge, which makes it very risky for animals to come down to that are having a drink to stay here. So I think one of the reasons why we don't often get to see lots of mammals around here is that they come to drink and they turn and then they walk straight back towards where they came from, because they don't want to get caught unawares by any of these predators that might be lurking in the shade. So Chad, hippos is probably the best example. They're the animal that we see mostly around waterholes. And then a waterbuck, which is, if you don't know what it is, it's a big grey, almost donkey looking like antelope with a big circle on its bum. And that's called a waterbuck, and they are pretty water dependent, so we see them around the water quite often. But yeah, by the sounds of things, Lauren's lions are starting to show signs of life, which gives me hope that our lions might be doing the same. So if there's nothing here in the next few minutes, we might be heading in that direction to see if they get active.
They're up. Sleepyheads are up. But no mating took place. She's rolling around, but they didn't mate. They're very sleepy and stiff. You know, when you've been lying in that same position for a long time. And you get pins and needles. Ugh, I hate that feeling. Okay, I think I'm going to try and reposition Theo and just see if we can quickly get a better look at them. Oh, she's up, she's up. Oh, she's nudging. Yep, there we go, mating. This is lordosis. This is what the female does to tell the male it's time. And for some reason, he's not responding. Okay, now we are going to move. Hopefully we don't miss this. She appears to be very ready. He is still waking up, I think. The female the male can actually refuse the female. But in this instance, she is the one.
Just managed to locate our buffalo that we were looking for. They've moved off a couple kilometers north of where they were this morning, in the opposite direction to that which they were moving. So obviously smelled the lion, didn't like what they smelt, and headed the other way. Beautiful shot as the sun glistens off those horns. That armament of the buffalo. Deadly weapons if he decides to charge or fight or take on a lion. So we've been looking for some lions the afternoon, but have had no luck. But we came across a very interesting little group of zebras, and it was actually a little bachelor herd of stallions. But the one that's now just a little bit further away, like we'll see if we can get a view of him. He had quite a bit of like what looks like mange. So it might be from this time of the year when the grass and so is quite dry and not as nutritious, that he's lost quite a bit of condition and probably caught mange, and now it's just affecting him a little bit more. Let's see, like they're all picking their heads up every now and then to have a look at us. You can see the one on the right hand side there is staring in the distance. He's actually looking towards us now.
but the rest have settled down a little bit. They were a little bit skittish when we got here, but there is a slight breeze blowing, and I think it might be from that breeze that their senses are being dampened a bit by the breeze, and that's why they could be a little bit skittish. There, another one's picking his head up. He looks fine. I think it's the one that's second from the right hand side with his bum towards us. He's the one that looked like he was not in the best condition, but it could even be that these young stallions have been fighting between each other and maybe some injuries caused him to lose some of his condition as well. Let's give it a moment and see if he picks his head up or not. I'm not going to move the vehicle at all. We'll have to have a look from here because, as I said, they are quite nervous at the moment with this wind blowing, so it might make them move off fairly quickly. Let's see if there's some interaction between them. There was some kicking and stuff happening in just a little bit. Oh yeah, zebras is an all-time favorite, and it's so special to see them out and about. It was a very hot day, so it is quite nice to see them out. I think it's cooling down now quite nicely just before the sun sets, so I think they're coming out to use this cool weather to eat as much as they can before the sunset. As you can see, they are like in nice open plains areas with like open rolling hills and so on, and that's good to spot predators at night. So I think they found a spot where they're gonna kind of hang around for the next few hours at least. You can see that one hasn't taken his ears off of us. He's just keeping an eye on us. So there is a big possibility that they might actually give each other a chance to feed, so we'll just keep an eye on. If he drops his head down, you might see another one pick his head up and keep an eye on us also. But as you can see, they have quite a few insects and stuff around them. The swishing of the tails. Marcel and I actually had like a bit of oh, there you can see the one's face. Look at that. The one with the mange. You can see the hair falling out on his face there. Shame. Hope he can pull through. So, Kay, you're asking what's the typical diet of a zebra? So, zebras are bulk grazers, or known as bulk grazers. As you can see, all these individuals here in front of us, their heads have been down, feeding on the grass the whole time, and they don't really care what pieces of the grass or anything that they feed on. So, mostly grass. If you know what horses feed, horses also feed mainly grass. So, same as that. There you can see they're just picking their heads up again. I wonder if there's maybe some warthogs or something behind us that's also making a sound in the grass. I could hear something just now. But I was just saying earlier that Marcel and I, we just had a bit of a fright because or not a fright, but was almost happily surprised. We thought it was a cheetah standing in the road, but it was just the white bum of a zebra far in the distance, and it was one of them, and then we just saw them swishing their tails. So that one that was standing on the right, he's now moved off to the left, but keeping on staring at us. I think Marcel and I are going to hang around here for a little bit. We did see some rhinos in the distance, but we're going to see if we can keep on looking for them.
So we just got a little dove that's coming in to drink now. This species is called a laughing dove. And it's considerably smaller than those other ones that we were looking at earlier. One of the chicks, Cape Turtle Dove, but very, very, very pretty. Yeah, I love the whole dove group, the columbriforms. It's one of those species that people kind of like glance over because they're so common, and yet they are strikingly beautiful birds when one looks closely at them. Oh, and these ones, they've got blues on, pinks, greys, whites, blue, pink, red, and white. A spectacular bird. Look. Ian has asked a very interesting question, and I'm afraid, Ian, I don't have a good answer for you. So the question that's been asked is, what animal is a bird's main predator? So you actually get a whole range of different predators on birds, and again, depending where they are in the world, and at what stage of their nesting or what stage of their life cycle they are in. The birds I'm talking about. You get some incredibly vicious predators on birds introduced predators on birds on oceanic islands. Things like mice, rats, cats, things like that, and they have been causes of absolute devastation to bird biodiversity on islands in some areas. But closer to home over here, these birds that you're seeing at the Waterhole are, when we say an animal preying on them, any other animal can prey on them, and it's in terms of the predators. So, you typically think when you say animal, like a ground-based predator, like a slender mongoose or a yellow mongoose or a caracal. But what about all your aerial predators? Just around this Waterhole, I know for a fact there are pearl-spotted owlets, there are the giant eagle owls, there are gabar goshawks, there are pale-chanting goshawks that frequent this area, and these are all predators on birds. And again, you're coming back to the slender mongoose, that beautiful little animal that we saw earlier. He's a notorious nest raider. So he's unlikely to be a threat to an adult bird, but in the nestling stage, absolutely. Snakes, your reptiles, they'll prey on birds, but again, normally during the nesting stage of the birds. So that's a very good question. And then you get a whole range of other species on birds that aren't necessarily predators in the typical sense, but rather parasites. And all of these birds have got their little flies on them, little what we call louse flies. There's all sorts of parasites, and those parasites in turn have their own parasites inside their guts and stuff. So there's a huge, and it's such a complex web. There's those Impala are watching something. Oh. I think David and I are being stalked by pride lions. No, I'm just kidding. But there's definitely something that's caught those Impala's attention. But it could also be far. It could be that they heard something far away in the distance, or because if they were really, really alarmed, they would have been giving off their alarm calls, that kind of stuff, which they're not doing. So, okay, there's a alarm call. But I have no idea what that's for. I think it's kind of like uncertain. They're like, what's going on here? Well, we're about to find out if we are surrounded by lions, so if it becomes too gory for sensitive viewers, we'll just go to another feed. No, I'm just kidding. Even a lion has its pride, eh? There's some wattled starlings up there. I don't know if you can get those on the top of it. I don't know if the angle of the camera will get to those. We're just going to try here quickly. Got some beautiful birds coming in to drink here. Well done, those are wattled starlings. And they can form massive flocks. You can get thousands of these birds together sometimes. And they actually nest communally. So they don't make one big nest. They make these very, very twiggy nests, but in clusters in trees. And sometimes you'll get like a group of 20 or 30 trees, and there are hundreds of individual nests inside there. So they're out of the breeding season at the moment. And the name wattled starling, you get the male's got these beautiful wattles that hang down off the side of the face.
We've just found a nice herd of elephants on the road up ahead of us. See, this one is quite a young one. With quite short tusks still, and it's feeding just off of the road, and its mother, or an adult, what I think was his mother's, moved off to the right. And it seems like there are a few more elephants that are around this area. It is just very thick, and so this is the best view that we have of one at the moment. Seems like it's a relatively small herd of maybe about 10 individuals. So there's a couple up ahead of us, and then there's actually a few on the right who might be coming out. Oh, My head's blocking the way of the elephants. So these are the ones that we were struggling to see, but it does look like they're coming to follow the path of the other two. So there's that one coming out. And the reason why I say I think it's a small herd of elephants is on the road there's just not a lot. So what I was just saying is it doesn't seem like there's lots of disturbances of tracks and dung on the road. There's only a couple individuals that have walked past it. But bittersweet, I think the youngsters will struggle to move. Oh wow, I hope you heard that. That was a beautiful call. So bittersweet. The youngsters will definitely, I mean, I'm sure, you know, the matriarchs, damn it, so apparently you didn't hear it, but there was a really beautiful elephant rumble that just echoed through this dense bush. But I'm sure, you know, the matriarchs will understand that there is a young one within the herd, and they won't cover as much distance per day as they usually would if they didn't have their youngsters with them. And so for that reason, I think the youngsters are able to keep up with them. So we're actually not too far from those lions, and what we might just do is wait for these elephants to cross our path before we continue to go and have a look for them this afternoon.
The most bizarre thing has happened between our two lovers. She got up, the youngest lioness got up, and she's walked into this drainage. And he's just not followed. He remained sleeping for quite some time. And I don't think he even knows where she is. He seems to have completely lost interest. And this can happen after about 3 or 4 days of constant mating. Can you imagine? He's also got a cut on his lower lip that I saw happen this morning. She wounded him on that swipe after he extracted his penis. He looks lost. Walk, I'm sorry, but you didn't follow her. She tried to encourage him, and he didn't follow. I could be speculating, but I really do think he's exhausted. And he'll be able to relocate her. He can follow her scent, absolutely. I've lost visual of her. But isn't that incredible? They were sleeping with his tail wrapped around her, and all of a sudden it's over. Megan, I agree. You're saying lol, he looks sad now. He does. He slept a little bit too long and he's lost his lady friend. You see what he's doing here? He's listening. Very intently, trying to listen for her. He can't see her. He's trying to figure out where she's going. Oh dear, sorry everyone. Sabi has been found with her 2 cubs in the Mulwati, but not Djuma side. I'm afraid she's in Little Gowrie. I got very excited for a while, but we will not be able to head there. Mohawk, when I first met the Avoca boys 2 years ago, his mane was nowhere near as dark as that. He was very sort of ginger, rufous. It's very tawny. And, well, in the space of 2 years, he's developed quite the mane, and it's got very, very dark, which is linked to testosterone rising, and which is directly linked to him being in his prime. Him being part of the dominant coalition in the area, mating with females, that causes a rise in the testosterone. HB, I would not be surprised if she has gone off to find a new lover. She's ditched him. He wasn't what she wanted after all, and she's looking for a new male. That happens. I actually mentioned that this morning. There's lots of records of females waiting until the male falls asleep and slinking off ever so quietly and running off to find another male. Completely happens. I'm not sure if this is what's happened here. Oh, he's on the move. But if they're down in this drainage line, I'm afraid, everyone, we're not going to be able to follow. So I'll do my best to figure out what's going on with our lovers, but we may not see them again, I'm afraid.
Oh, good luck, Lauren, with following those cats. They sound like they're on a mission. Still sitting here amongst this herd of buffalo, enjoying the smells and the sounds. They smell very much like a herd of cattle would, if you've been on a farm with a lot of cows. Lots of patties dropped everywhere that we saw earlier. I think it was number 3 in our quiz. Lots of bellowing. Large female there. People often ask, how do you tell the difference between the males and the females? And the easiest way is to look at the horns. A female like this doesn't have a pronounced what we call the boss. It's almost like a helmet that the males have. We'll find one in a little while and show you. She's still got beautiful curved horns. She's a lovely big cow. Female buffalo is called a cow, but she doesn't have that pronounced boss. Or scrum cap also known amongst those who watch rugby. I love that sound as they feed and move through the grass and bellow. Just listen to them as they feed and move. Notice the oxpeckers on the back. Always prevalent among large mammals, especially buffalo. That's a red-billed oxpecker. Picking away, making a meal of the parasites. Actually, mostly after the blood. They derive that blood from the ticks that they eat, but if there's an open wound, they won't really so to keep picking at it to ensure a flow of blood. Many vampires. There's actually one with quite a significant wound. I wonder what happened there. That does not look nice. Serious gash. Actually, just as we were talking about it, look at the oxpeckers going in there for the blood. That's exactly what they were after, just like we were just speaking about. Drinking that blood. The wound does look like it was healing. It is healing. It looks like it was a lot bigger. I wonder what happened. Your guess is as good as mine, Archie, with these buffalo. They put themselves through the paces. They are always in harm's way. Could have been a gash from another horn, or perhaps more likely a failed lion attack. Who knows, maybe one of the Nkuhumas was on this cow's back, biting and ripping. She gallantly got it away and lived to see another.
We have just come across this amazing and beautiful scene. Wow. We came to the small watering hole hoping to find some animals, and the sun is just perfectly setting behind it, and there's this massive herd of zebras in front of it. It's so cool. And we just heard some zebras calling in the distance, so I'm hoping that one of them will vocalize back. There's quite a few herds that have come together here, so I can imagine there's quite a bit of social interaction happening. There you can see quite a few of them coming together now, smelling. You can look at that, like smelling each other's mouths and so you might hear some noises every now and then. See that flick of the head. It looks like these are all quite a few stallions. Don't see any females. I wonder if this is like a bachelor herd. Let's see. It's such a beautiful view, and Marcel and I have already snapped a few photos ourselves. Oh my goodness, there's one zebra walking past, has a big scar on his back. He's just walking straight over my head now. He's got a big scar there. That must be from a lion or so, but I think we'll come back to the zebras here in front of the setting sun. They are actually grooming each other a little bit. There's like a bit of biting happening and so on, and it does look like a herd of stallions. So I think there's a lot of a lot of yawning and allo grooming happening and so on. I'm sure there's quite a bit of hierarchy stuff going on that we have absolutely no idea about. Yeah, look at that. So all the ears pulling back as well. And they're slowly moving off. Wow. What a scene. And you guys came to us just at the right time. And they all came for a drink of water just before the sun is setting completely. Because I think they'll try and avoid a source like this in the dead of night, just because there might be predators more active that time of the evening. Tonight is full moon, so probably not the best time for predators to be hunting, because they'll be a little bit easier to spot. You can see all of them now standing and staring. So I thought that's a good question, asking how big herds of zebras can get. It really depends on the area and how many animals are in the area as well, because it can range from a stallion just having one mare that's with him, or a stallion having up to 10 or 12, maybe even more than that, mares that he's looking after. But this looks like it's actually quite a big herd of stallions, and if I just look quickly, I estimate there's probably around 20 or so around here, so quite a big herd. And it can get even bigger. I mean, the Great Migration is happening right now, and there's now herds of thousands of zebras going over the plains to migrate. Oh, there's actually a couple of them coming over in the background there, and it looks like another stallion, but it looks like it's walking with a mare, and he is yawning and pulling his ears back, and he's almost pushing her to the side there, trying to avoid the rest of the zebras here. Just see how he's like yawning and pulling his ears back. See how he's pushing her away. Not happy with all the other males that's around. That is very interesting behavior, and they're coming right in front of this beautiful setting sun. Look how amazing that is. It looks like the whole herd is actually starting to follow them now a little bit. Anna Marie, it sure does look like a painting. I wish someone would paint this. This would be so perfect. And you know, we can take all the photos that we want, and nothing will be able to capture a moment like this. I guess for memories there might be. Look at the whole herd coming back now, and the front zebras have now turned back again. Let's see, maybe there's some social interaction happening here. Yeah, look at them all starting to turn back. I wonder if they maybe smelled something down the wind. Who knows? Let's have a look. Yeah, they're all turning back. That's quite interesting. maybe they heard something on that side. Could be that they may be just checking on other zebras that's far in the distance. I think these zebras are going to try and get away from the water pretty soon, and especially with the prides of lions that's in this area. So I think we're going to head over to Ngala for some lions on that side, and I'm going to stick around and see what happens here.
Just managed to find out the lions we were looking for, and they are on the move. And just look at the scene. Beautiful golden grass. And just listen, this young male is calling. There's one lioness that's a little bit ahead that he's trying to catch up to. But look at how well that leg is recovered. Compared to 3 months ago, he couldn't even walk. And now he's walking. Still another lioness who's a little bit far behind. She is watching, but she's not moving yet. She's just paused briefly, maybe just listening to see if he can hear a response. This is incredible. And what a way. I just want to quickly show you briefly that other lioness before we carry on following the other two. So she is right over there watching quite intently. But she hasn't decided to get up and move. And she's the old lioness. And she is the one, if you've been watching for a while now, she's got quite a, well, not a bad limp, but she is limping on her front left leg. And so maybe she's just decided to stay put for a while and just rest that leg before she decides to get up and move. The good thing is she's an old, experienced lioness, so she's more than comfortable being by herself. And she might just get up and eventually follow the trail of these two lions that they're setting. So it's quite interesting. These are 3 lions of the Birmingham Pride, but they've split off in some way for the last couple of days, actually. And so we're not entirely sure where the rest of the pride is, but it's good to see that we've seen these 3 now. And so hopefully tomorrow morning we can maybe follow these ones' tracks, and they might lead us to the rest of the pride. But because that one doesn't seem to be moving, I really don't want to lose this young male and one of the other females. So let's see if we can follow her and him. And there's a small little pan not too far away from here that they might be going to just have a quick little drink at before they continue on with their day. Just make sure she's not moving. No. Jacqueline, I feel exactly the same way. The way that, this is one of the best examples. He looked like I didn't really have high hopes for him, to be honest. His leg was severely injured. He couldn't put any pressure on it, but just that tenacity to keep going and keep getting up. And they just want to survive, I guess. And it just is amazing how he would move away and we wouldn't see him for a week and we would assume the worst, and then all of a sudden he'll be back with the pride, looking full and healthy again. So there he is. And it might be quite nice to see him from behind so we can actually look at that leg. And you can hardly see where it's injured, but it's down by the knee essentially. And if you look in the distance there, you might just see the movement of the other lioness quite far away now. But see how he has to compensate with his right leg. His right leg is coming over and around. but it looks like, you know, maybe in the next couple of months he'll be walking pretty much unhindered, which is quite phenomenal. Stacy, he has grown too long, and we are all kind of counting down the days that he was going to be kicked away. But I think we're quite happy that he stuck around, especially, like I say, just to follow his story and the hardships that he's overcome in the last couple of months. It's really been quite cool to watch. Walk through in a very funny manner. So we'll keep following them and see where they end up to. There's some hyenas that we need you to go and see.
Finally, everybody, finally. We have Corks and the little one. A moment together. I have been coming to this den maybe about 3 or 4 times each drive, and it's completely empty. Last night on my way we bumped into Mulwati, and the mating lions walked right past us den today. Corks was very nervous on her approach. She was stopping, she was sniffing, she was stopping, she was sniffing, and I do wonder, can she smell the lions that walked by, and that's why she's nervous. Corky's not a fan of lions, I can tell you that for sure. Now Shambulu keeps popping his little head up. It's not there just now. I haven't seen Ngwazi yet, but everybody looks sleepy. Everybody's saying, yay, they're happy. Corky and Cub, finally. We noticed an injury. I'm not sure if we can see it from here, actually. It's on her elbow area. No, that's not it. That's a very calloused elbow. But there's actually a part that's split open, and you can see the flesh inside. It must be around the other side. So she's done something. She's been up to something. But as many of you know, hyenas are incredibly resilient. Isn't she gorgeous? Her nasal area looks damp. I wonder if she's been drinking. Just like that little one is doing. That little one is a hungry Horus. Oh, I'm so glad to see this. It was a little bit worrying yesterday to see Mulwati and to see the lions walk past today. Now, the lions really aren't interested in food. They went into that drainage and goodness knows what they're up to. But a small hyena would be an ideal pickings for a leopard. And again, that's exactly why we don't stay here without an adult. We watched Corky approach, and she called out the cub. She put her head into the hole and called, vocally made sure the cub knew its mommy, it's okay to come out. And the cub came bounding out and latched onto the nipple almost immediately. But that's why the vehicles don't stay here. Although we mean no harm and we're not a threat, we need the cubs to stay in the den. Now, I have arrived sometimes and the cubs are out, and that's just worrying. This little one here is following the actions of the older ones, not realizing that it's a lot younger. It's trying to be one of the big boys. Sugar bits, I agree. Wriggly wiggly worm, that little one. It's just excitement overload. Cannot get enough of Mom's delicious milk. And just cannot stop moving. Once that little tummy gets full, oh, ouch. Once that little tummy gets full, it will probably fall off into a little doze. So cute. I think hyena cubs have to be one of the cutest in the animal kingdom. I know not everyone will agree with me, but that's definitely what I think. Corky's quite scarred up. actually. And she's definitely lost weight and muscle mass since her time as matriarch. Definitely. Just shows you what being a high ranker entails. And Ribbon's put on. Ribbon's much bigger now than she used to be. Well, I'm sure I don't need to tell you all, but I'm not going anywhere. We're going to sit here and enjoy this precious moment.
We've just ducked off road, and the reason being is that these lions have headed straight towards that little pan that I mentioned. So we want to see if we can get them drinking. And what's even more exciting is that they look like they're almost trying to warm up their vocal cords, and they're getting louder and louder as they're starting to call. So there's a nice big game path here that I'm going to get onto. There we go. So we actually have got here in nice time. They're walking through this beautiful brush with the sunset to the right of us, and they've stopped in the tree line, and so they want to try and make sure that if there is anything else at the water, that maybe they'll be able to surprise them. But he's managed to keep up, and it looks like they're just about to drop down for a drink. And it's been quite confusing. We've been hearing other lions calling. We think the one that was behind us was calling. Pisces Bobby, I would also love it if these lions were to sing us their song. I am going to move forward, and I mean, it's just one of those beautiful things. It's almost as cool watching a lion call as it is hearing it. But by the sounds of things, like I was saying, we were hearing other lions calling in the distance. We weren't sure if it was that female that was lagging a little bit behind these two, or if it was part of the pride. I'm just going to stop here. And see, they're also doing what we're doing, so just listening, scanning. See, their ears are moving from side to side. That's an Egyptian goose calling, challenging the lions. Uh-oh. Don't know what he was trying to do there. Gonna get himself in trouble. But they seem to be focused straight ahead of us, so that might be where they thought the other lions were calling from. So maybe they're just waiting to see if they get to hear them calling again. But interesting that they haven't taken this opportunity to go and have something to drink. So I don't think they're too thirsty. Yeah, so I think we'll sit around here a little bit longer and just see if we can hear where the other lions are calling from.
Well, we just managed to happen upon a leopard. Lazarus from an adjoining property and the guys from Simbambili called us in. We can't see her face now, but I've been told it's Nsele. Operates on the west. She's just going to go out of view now, so we're going to have to back out and swing around, but lovely to see some spots. Awesome, awesome, awesome. How cool is this? Just give us a sec as we reposition. What a lovely cherry on top of our afternoon. Lion and buffalo and a leopard. in a very thick spot here. So just bear with us. I'm gonna take Craig. I wish you could see Craig now. He's literally just getting pulled apart by branches. Poor Craig. Just give us a sec. We'll be back in position shortly.
Oh, the most upsetting thing has happened. Corky got up to leave, and this little one's been crying, running around frantically. But Corky's back, don't worry. Don't worry, she's back. Oh. Oh, the squeals. Corky's not completely comfortable here. Good mama. Oh! Hi, Shambulu. How are you? Oh no, don't sit on your little one. Oh. Okay, that was not supposed to happen. Corky just sat on its head. Now we obviously don't have the same views anymore, I'm afraid. The little one's suckling to the other side, but that's okay. It's still happening in front of us. Oh, the panic in that little one when Mom left. Oh. But there was still an awareness not to stray too far from the den. I think Corky can hear something that we cannot hear, or I definitely cannot hear. I mean, there are mating lions not too far off. Maybe she can hear them. Corky, you look like a camel. A spotted camel. Shambulu's coming out to say hi. I wonder how this interaction will go between Ribbon's little one and the ex-matriarch.
Just managed to reposition and get another look. She's gone and lay down in the grass. So well camouflaged. He's sitting here with the rangers from Simbambili. Simbambili really has been a treat to us this afternoon, hasn't it? Buffalo, lion, and the cherry on top, the leopard. Justin from Simbambili's told me that it is in Seli. Apparently a lot of the viewers have not seen her before. They reckon from the West Singita side. So she's moved quite far. Oh, while she blends in the grass. If you didn't know she was there, it'd be very easy to miss her. Stealth being her primary attribute. Able to wait patiently in the long grass, perhaps as a herd of Impala feeds towards her. I believe everyone is chatting about her eye. I thought I saw a glimpse of a funny looking eye. It looks like it may be damaged or even out. I was hesitant to say because I didn't quite see. appears that she may be missing that eye. I'm going to actually have a quick look through my binoculars. It does appear to be out. Michael Fleetwood, expert on these leopard, you say she's been more and more nomadic over the past months, moving across territories. It's very interesting. I wonder how she lost that eye. Maybe her and Hukumuri meet up on the cut line for a beer and chat about their war wounds. We are going to sit here, stay with her.
I am so happy David has found Nsele. Actually, one day when the internet went down, James, Henry, Davy and myself decided to go on a bumble into Simbambili, not expecting to see much at all, and we found Nsele. She's quite an older leopardess, 11 years old, but stunning. Well done, David. I've been hoping we could introduce Nsele to you all, but she's difficult to find. She appears to be quite nomadic at the minute. Now, Shimbulu here has really not came close to Corky, and it's interesting. He seems to be respecting the mother cub time with Corky and her little one. But realistically speaking, these two boys, Ngwazi and Shimbulu, could actually act very, very dominant with their tails up and aggression, which they're all capable of doing, towards Corky and her little one. And Corky would have to be submissive. Can you believe that? A large female hyena who's much older, and she used to be the matriarch, she used to be in charge of everybody. She would have to bow down and be submissive to these little ones. But what's fascinating me is they're not acting dominant. They're really looking after this little one. I've come to the den many times, and they're always being so tender with this little one. And they're also really not showing that much sort of dominant body posturing towards Corky. Or at least Shimbulu's not. I've not seen Ngwazi yet. He's clearly snoozing. But I don't know if that would change when Ribbon appears. I know there's been an interaction recently that we missed between Ribbon and Corky. So Corky's coming around the den. She's not avoiding it, and I really don't think she's avoiding Ribbon. But that's the interaction I want to see. Ribbon and Corky together. I imagine Ribbon will just be very dominant, and Corky will just be extremely submissive to keep everything sweet. See how unsure he is? He wants to come, he wants to sniff, he wants to... Too curious. Wants to know what's going on. But still, something's stopping him. Okay, hopefully the other one pops his head out soon, and if there's any interaction, you'll be right back with us.
Look at the scene that we have in front of us. A beautiful view of the Drakensberg Mountains. The sun is already set, so we've got those beautiful, beautiful colours. The purple up at the top coming to yellows, and then the oranges. pretty. And those lines still haven't moved much. They're still in exactly the same spot. We've changed our position slightly. And that female on the left-hand side is occasionally contact calling. The male on the right-hand side isn't calling too much though. So just, you might see a slight change in color as we switch over to infrared. Listen. Definitely doesn't get better than this. And interesting to see that young male calling. He's got such a deep, deep, deep voice. And so that female on the left, I think, was calling in response to that female we saw a little bit earlier on. Or at least that's where I think the call is coming from. Because it's not like she heard it and turned and responded in that direction. And so it's pretty clear that they're looking for the rest of the pride. And so they'll do this throughout the night. They'll find a spot. This is quite nice. That is probably one of the best sounds in the whole of Africa. And like I was saying, it's one of those things that is absolutely incredible to listen to, but to watch whilst they're calling is even more special. And that male is such a good example. I mean, he puts so much effort into it. You can see his whole body contracting as he squeezes out that roar. And so they'll be doing this throughout the night, like I was saying, to try and see if they can find a response. They'll sit here and listen for a little bit if they don't hear anything, and they're satisfied that there's no other lions calling back. They might get up and move to a slightly different spot and do the same, and do that throughout the night. Tammy, I'm glad those speakers went crazy, and I hope you had them full blast so you could understand what we were experiencing. And I mean, I think it's also sometimes quite hard to describe a sound like that, but you know, if the lions are calling in our direction, you can actually feel it sometimes. You can feel it shaking your body or shaking the vehicle, and that sound just it's amazing how loud it is. The other one's going, just listen, we might hear a response. Here we go. The other one on the left's going. That was a half-hearted attempt, to say the least. Just a few little, almost contact calls. able to hear the blacksmith lapwings making a racket as they're flying around. There's that, and then there's also double-banded sandgrouse coming in to drink every now and again. It's like the birds are trying to compete against the lions. I think the lions are winning this battle. It's amazing that male, he'll always respond when one's calling, but he'll never ever initiate the roar by himself. I think that would just be, it would look too much of a challenge to the dominant males in the area. And if they were anywhere close by and they heard that, they would come in with a vengeance. And I'm sure he doesn't want to be on the wrong side of their temper. So we've heard them calling now twice. I hope they get to call again before the end of the show. So we're not going to go anywhere until we wait to hear them call again.
Welcome back to Nsele, the female leopard on Simbambili. As we have learned, she is actually quite advanced in years, about 11 years old, and becoming increasingly nomadic, been spotted far from the original area that she used to move through. Thank you again for all those insights. For someone like me that's a freelance presenter that hasn't spent much time in this area, it's always lovely to get the insights of the viewers that have been watching the show for perhaps many years and have an intricate knowledge and understanding of these animals. It's that knowledge and understanding that makes us appreciate them so much more.
Yeah, maybe.
She's nice and tucked away in the grass. Nice and hidden, and it's interesting. I think she must be enjoying the silence. Normally, when you move with a leopard, there's always something alarm calling. Whether it's a bird or a squirrel or a herd of impala, there's always something shouting, chirping, screaming, alarm calling, leopard, leopard, leopard. You almost feel bad for the leopard. They're constantly being shouted at. But not now. It's dead silence out here. Nothing has seen her, nothing has spotted her except us. I think she's quite content to lie there in the grass, undetected. Grumpy old man, you've said you wonder if she drinks at One-Eyed Pan. Best pun of the day.
So they've just started threatening to call, but it seems like she's doing this over and over again where she'll warm up and she puts all of that effort pushing her head forward and calling, and then she stops. And so I hope she does it for at least one last time. She seemed to be, every single time that lioness in the distance called, she would almost latch onto that and call with her. But for the last while, she's been looking straight down in that direction, and that is pretty much straight towards the Timavati River. And so they could be hearing other lions. See, it looks like they're both hearing something, and that might be that lioness with the limp that was behind them. Maybe she's decided to get up and walk towards them. Oh, the young male's calling. The female's going again. There we go. There we go. Come on. I thought that was it this time. That was looking so promising. I thought she was going to just go at full tilt, but I don't know. I guess she's just listening more than wanting to call for now. And that also could just be communicating with that lioness in the back, just letting her know where they are before they carry on going. We can't call that disappointing. I mean, and neither can we call the scenery. It's just unreal to be watching these colours change over the mountains, and these lions have just made it 10 times better. Yeah, Gary, myself and Owen are also just waiting for one last proper roar. On my watch, we've got maybe about 7, just under 7.5 minutes left. And so our chances are still pretty good. So it'll just be really, really cool. And I'm pretty sure that other lioness is close by now. I think there's a staff vehicle that is on its way to the tented camp, and it seems like it's stopped. So maybe it's just seen that lioness on the road. So hopefully it's coming back here. And then maybe they're just waiting so they can have 3 calling instead of just the boring 2 calling. So our time's getting thinner and thinner, but I really hope they get to call one more time for us.
Precious moments are still. Watch that little cub underneath the corks. 2 giraffes just passed by, and it was incredible. Everyone got a fright. Shimbulu ran back inside. Corky got up. I think she's really nervous. I think she can hear the lions because they're really not far away. And because of her past with the lions and maybe the scent in this area, they've been mating in this entire area all day. I think Corky's really, really nervous. No, is Mummy going away? Ray, that's a good question. Hyenas generally give birth to twin litters, and they're ready to sort of become sexually active at 3 years old, and they can live as old as 20. They've actually got a long lifespan for animals in the wild, and that's because they're very resilient to lots of things.
nice now that they've actually just stopped. So that was better than the last ones we had. So definitely it's maybe in 2.5 more minutes they might just give it another go. They're just being dramatic. So she keeps, I'm sure that other lioness is somewhere close by now. I'd love for her to come and join them. That would be 3 generations. Oldest lioness, the one who's technically the middle-aged lioness, and then the young male. But since I've been here, I mean, all they're doing is facing down towards the river. So that might be if they decide to move, that's the direction that they might head to, which is really cool. It means that they're heading in towards Ngala, and that might be something that we need to start off with tomorrow morning by searching for these ones. So when I was last on, that was about 3 days ago now, I think. They literally waited for the last minute before they called. And at that time we had the whole pride, so I've got faith in them. And this young male's looking nice and regal on this little patch. Again, listening behind him. See, there's another little contact call. We've got 1 minute left, everybody, 1 minute. I hope everyone's got their fingers crossed, holding their thumbs, lifting one leg off of the air. What else? Touching wood. Come on, they can do it. One last call. Owen says, for good luck, stick your tongues out, left leg off of the, not touching the ground, holding thumbs. Here we go, please. Oh, no. Okay, we've got 30 seconds left, but if they don't end up calling, we have heard them calling a couple of times, and I mean, it's been a wonderful day, from leopards to mating lions, to lions calling, to zebras, to beautiful birds and Tswalu. And so we can't be too disappointed if they don't call. I hope everyone has a good night, and we'll catch you in the morning.